maybe, you know, start with an archetype that just one archetype to sort of improve your fundamentals of play, and then when you go from there, maybe you can adapt your choice for each event depending on what you think is best. But even some of the top players will employ that same sticking to one deck strategy, and you see with players like Pedro, it really pays off for them.
Boy, does it pay off. Pedro Eugenio Torres with some of the best accomplishments in the game, a World Championships top 4 with that Rayquaza GX archetype, an EUIC top 4, an OCIC champion, and then another top 4 at the EUIC as well. So a ruthless competitor on the international stage as well as the regional stage. We don't really have space to show any more accomplishments for Pedro.
No, there's too many to show. Ward, on the other hand, perhaps the underdog in this fight, going to be looking to prove himself. Although with a recent regionals top 64 in Liverpool just this year, so you know, not unfamiliar with the day 2 and with like the higher stakes matches, but yeah, definitely the underdog going into this matchup, it's safe to say.
Yeah, possibly, but the players have their headsets on as well, so we can start talking about their deck lists. Pedro, unsurprisingly, is going to be sticking with Lost Zone box, and Ward is going to be playing the Mew VMAX archetype. Ward's going for a fusion-based build that also has the spicy 1/1 line of a Selgor as well. It was popularized at the Latin American International Championships to give yourself some grass type coverage. And interestingly enough, Pedro is actually playing some of those grass-weak Pokemon because they're incorporating a Roaring Moon EX as well as a Galarian Moltres V in their list. So that grass attacker might come in clutch here as we start to see some prize cards.
Yeah, absolutely. The Excel coming in. Oh, all those. Oh.
You can just about get away with it when you're playing a fusion build. You do have your third copy of your VMAX as well as your Ice Cube and your Meloetta, and actually just having to use a Selgor because you're out of attackers could be relevant this game. And we did see a very spicy prize card for Pedro there, as we do see the fist bump. The super effective glasses is in Pedro's list, and it's because of the card that he's actually started, the Minior. So Pedro not wanting to take losses to Snorlax this weekend.
No, my prediction coming in already there with Pedro starting with the Minior. Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. Important to note that in the camera view, the prize cards were swapped around. Of course, we see Ward is playing Mew and Pedro is playing the Lost Box there. And it looks like Ward will actually be going first.
Yep, with that Nest Ball, going to be able to scout the deck and find any basic Pokemon. It's going to be a Genesect V. This is, of course, an integral component to the Mew VMAX archetype, as this is going to be the card that allows you to draw through your deck with that Fusion Strike system ability. And really, Genesect wants to have a party. It wants to have many Pokemon down all in one go, as we're seeing a Matic flip here, and it does get heads.
Ooh, great
so
start.
We can continue to get more basics developed onto this board, and I think it's a no-brainer that Battle VIP Pass is going to be the choice here.
Yeah, of course. Battle VIP Pass, the kind of staple setup card, ever since it came out. It was one of those cards where when it first came out, people looked at it and thought, oh, hold on, if I don't get this turn 1, it's like a completely dead card the rest of the game, don't even want to play it. But then as people tested more and more of it, they realized, oh wait, no, actually, if I open with it, it's completely insane, so it's worth those dead slots later on.
Yeah, and it's actually changed deck building in that this Cramomatic is an excellent card because it can just thin your hand of these Battle VIP Pass later on in the deck, so there's actually a lot of synergy in here. We see the Forest Seal Stone onto the Genesect V as well before a Fusion Strike system. Just going to get one card, and we can instantly play that one. There's actually not a huge amount that you need to do as Ward on this turn 1, although we do see the flip of the Forest Seal Stone V-Star marker here to get another Battle VIP Pass just to develop even more Pokemon. I actually would really like to see a Shelmet come down onto this board just because you know how many Mew pieces that you've actually prized.
Yeah, I think it would definitely make sense to go for it here. And I think, so one Genesect is going to be the obvious pick, but yeah, is he going to actually go for the... No, looks like it's going to be just another Mew instead, maybe.
That's an interesting one based on what's actually remaining in the deck, but it might also indicate that you're looking to do a lot of Psychic Leaping. That's another way that you can protect your one Mew VMAX just by never leaving it in play and just shuffling it back into the deck for reuse later on.
And factoring into that, of course, is Ward is probably thinking, I know Pedro, right? Pedro is likely to be playing Lost Box, so therefore Psychic Leap is probably going to be quite a relevant attack, so therefore it makes sense to get out more of the Mew so I can keep up that stream of Psychic Leaps.
So we've got a full board now, and we're continuing to draw cards with Fusion Strike system. We have a Box of Disaster to attach to our active, as well as a Fusion Strike Energy for Ward. Actually, just seeing Minior, you may think you're up against Charizard, honestly, so that also could be coming into the thinking of Ward on this opening turn.
Yeah, that's true. It's a little bit hard to fully predict what your Minior could be teched into. I guess Charizard may be one of the more obvious options for that, but I'm sure that either way, Pedro is going to be revealing some more of what he's playing right now. So has a Nest Ball in hand, has a Pokegear as well, going to be start by firing that off first.
It's a big one, honestly, as well.
Oh, is there nothing else in hand?
I think I saw Boss's Orders as the other supporter option. We do see a Colress, so that's huge for Pedro here.
Yeah.
This is such an integral supporter For the Lost Zone engines, of course, you're seeing an additional 5 cards. You get to keep 3 of them, but also the mini quest for any Lost Zone player is to hit some of these thresholds. You want to get to 4 to unlock your Lost Provisions ability from Cramorant, so it can attack for free. You're also, certainly in Pedro's archetype, looking to get to the 7 threshold of cards in the Lost Zone to unlock Mirage Gate, which is actually the key energy acceleration of the deck. Interestingly enough, Pedro is not playing Sableye. That was typically the sort of end game goal for the Lost Zone players, and that's no longer the case, as we see some Battle VIP pass come to the top from this chorus.
Oh, that's a very, very big find. And there's like an Iron Hands there as well. Not going to be very useful against Mew, so probably going to be happy to...
That's an easy choice.
Easy choice there, but yeah, it is interesting, kind of playing... It's almost like a further evolution of what Torres is trying to do, right? I mean, Torres already cut to like the
it's like
one
a simplified build, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, Torres already cutting to like the 1 Sableye list, and now Pedro cutting to 0. Maybe, you know, in this era of big basic EX attackers like, you know, Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant EX, maybe Sableye isn't just this relevant in the same way. I mean, it does still obviously do a number on picking off the evolving EXs, of course, like the Gardevoirs and the Charizards, but yeah, very, very interesting to see.
I think it's also the case that we've got from Paradox Rift the new Jirachi, which can simply block Sableye. And in the matchups where you want to use Sableye, your opponent's going to be playing Jirachi most likely. So if you are working towards this endgame and your opponent just pops a Jirachi down and throws Ionos at you, it can really limit your plays. Plus the mirror match now for the Lost Zone decks, it's far less about using Sableye against each other. It's now just using Iron Hands into their single prizes, because taking an immediate 2 prizes is better than taking like a 1.5 if you're using Sableye over a number of turns. So it feels like it's become less of a powerhouse card when there are these tech options in Paradox Rift now. As Pedro's going to take the time to look through the deck list, you can see thrown the Pokemon to the front, the energy to the back, because you are trying to juggle so many resources in this deck. The Lost Zone engine, of course. Once you put something in the Lost Zone, you can never access it for the remainder of the game, so you have to be so careful on every single flower selecting. As Pedro's having a really good opener here with a double VIP pass thanks to that chorus.
Yeah, finding 2 VIP passes is always what you want to see off of an early game chorus experiment. We're going to be wanting to find another Comfey, I'm sure, and then there's going to be trying to decide what is like the best attacking option, or the best alternative attacking option to go with here. And it looks like it's going to be that Greninja. Yeah,
honestly, because you have 2 Dark type 2 prize Pokemon, you can try and make your prize map just dealing with 2 Mew VMAX, honestly. That could be certainly a valid strategy for you. So just having as much on-board draw power as possible to allow Pedro to just make sure you can get towards your combinations of Mirage Gate plus your basic Dark type Pokemon is going to be really important here. So I really like this option from Pedro, just to start cycling through the deck as much as possible. We, of course, have Super Rods that can reload these energies, so it's a fantastic option to have the concealed cards in the deck, and it's kind of the big debate between the Lost Box builds, whether or not you go heavy Mirage Gate plus Radiant Greninja plus a higher count of energy, or do you go down a Radiant Charizard route. And Pedro is accepting that the 2 prizes are going to do the heavy lifting in terms of an attacking sense, and Greninja can be kind of in the back, using its spreading options whenever it's powerful against single prize decks, but going to be more of a draw engine throughout most matchups.
Yeah, of course, with that Roaring Moon as well being a very absolutely excellent attacker into Mew, hitting for that weakness.
Pass, no switching outs for Pedro, which is the one issue for this opening hand here. The Minior does have a 2 retreat cost. It's really good at getting into the active, not so good at getting out of the active, which is a shame for Pedro here, who hasn't begun to ramp their Lost Zone too much. Just a 2 from Colress early on.
Yeah, and also not a very good card in this matchup either. Of course, Minior is going to be hitting for resistance most of the time, so definitely not something you want to start with against Mew. But meanwhile, on Ward's side, he had a really, really good turn 1 setup, and it looks like he's got... Is that Annalisa Sparkle in hand ready to go? I think it is. Yeah.
It's going to be the opening action for Ward here. Does allow you to search the deck for 2 Fusion Strike energy and attach them to 2 of your Fusion Strike Pokemon. This is fantastic for a couple of attacks that you have in the deck list. Currently, the bench is full, so you are just using this to guarantee an attack with your Mew VMAX this turn.
Yes.
With a board completely of single prize Pokemon, do you like looking towards a Psychic Leap play here, Freya?
I don't hate it. I mean, there's... I think maybe the one worry for Ward is that if he's aware that there's, you know, only 1 Mew VMAX available in the deck, that he might worry about finding it again if he does Psychic Leap, but at the same time, it would prevent Pedro from being able to take a free prize knockout next turn. So I think there's definitely merit to it. I guess it's a little bit awkward because if you're going to do that, you'd probably want to evolve you probably want to do it not with the one with the Box of Disaster, right?
That's the thing.
So, and attaching the Fusion Strike engine from hand, maybe what if you're doing it with the Mew V?
That's also a really good shout. If you could use just your V here, keep the V max on the bench, that could be a really great way to lose a few less resources and still get your Psychic Leap off. for the KO here. Minior just with 70 hit points, and it looks like the Mew may be staying on the board, actually.
Okay. Of course, yeah, but the Psychic Leap, it is optional. You don't have to shuffle the cards back into the deck, and maybe Ward thinking he'd rather just keep those energies on board instead. And so, yeah, with that, it's back to Pedro.
Who has another Colress, I believe. Actually, possibly not, but does have access to Forest Seal Stone, I think, and Galarian Moltres. So there are a few combos in this hand. It's just whether or not you want to commit a 2-prize Pokemon to the board this early, if you're going to find it difficult to ramp to 7. So we're going to see some flower selectings first. I still feel the best supporter to use here will be a Colress. Also, Raihan is currently not live because there's no basic energy in the discard pile. So it's just going to be a few flower selectings here and there from Pedro. There's a Town Store, an interesting stadium choice from them, because they are playing the Forest Seal Stone, of course, and super effective glasses as their combo. Oftentimes you'll see different stadiums scattered around these Lost Zone engines, but Pedro's gone for the Town Store. Yeah,
I think Town Store, maybe tool's not really what Pedro needs right now. I think it's more just a matter of like finding energy and finding attackers and ways to power them up. You want to maybe hopefully find another Colress experiment to start with, so that you can actually get 7 in the Lost Zone and start firing off those Mirage Gates.
Don't think I see any Chorus, so you could just use Raihan to possibly even retreat this Comfey and then just swing with a Cramorant. It's so easy for the Mew players to wipe off this damage, but at least forces Ward into another Psychic Leap play.
There's a Galarian Moltres in hand and a Forest Seal Stone, so...
How do we discard a second Darkness Energy is my question. Pedro does not play any Ultra Ball in the deck list, and with only 1 Darkness in the discard, you can't use Direflame Wings and Raihan to attach all to this one Pokemon. We're not yet ready to use Mirage Gate, so maybe this Forest Seal Stone is actually for a Colress here to try and get towards 7.
Yeah, I think that's the best choice, because with the 1 Dark Energy in the discard pile, all you need is 1 Mirage Gate and you can get that Moltres powered up. So yeah, I think it's going to be for the Colress there, and then hope to hit one more way to get something in the Lost Zone off of that.
Yeah, so this requires some additional switching outs from this Colress. I don't know if the Mirage Gate's already in hand either, but Pedro is certainly looking for pieces here. He had the option to just hold the entire hand and just give up another single prize Pokemon with no pressure. But seeing that your opponent's using a 2-prizer kind of puts you off that, and you want to start responding as quickly as possible. And that's why we're seeing the Chorus tutored here via the Forest Seal Stone. This is a big 5 cards for Pedro.
Chorus experiment. What does Pedro find here? Needs to find a switch out, needs to find a Mirage Gate. There's,
no switch outs, just a ton of energy. The Roaring Moon has to be kept, you would think.
Yeah, there is a vacuum there that could get Pedro to 7, but without Mirage Gate to capitalize on it,
it's a rough find. Lightning Energy is pretty okay to go. You've already got rid of the Iron Hands, so that's certainly going to be an option that you'd be considering to get rid of, possibly the Nest Ball as well.
Yeah.
The other cards seem a little bit more valuable right now.
Yeah, I think it has to be Nest Ball, Lightning Energy. You don't really want to bench anything else from the deck at this point, and like you mentioned, Lightning Energy is not really relevant anymore, so yeah, I think that's what it's got to be.
I think I like Nest Ball going the most out of this hand, possibly the Vacuum as well. If you know you're not gating this turn, you could just get rid of it, knowing that you'll hit that threshold naturally next turn. But also, when you're already drawn into the Roaring Moon, there's no real need to have any Nest Ball. Do you like attach retreating into a Cramorant for an attack here, just for some pressure?
Yeah, you could do. I mean, it doesn't get you, considering what you're normally attacking with in order to win, it doesn't get you that much further. So I don't know if it's necessarily the most important thing to go for.
Possibly it forces some dig towards Power Tablets just to leap through a Cramorant, or maybe
that's true.
Other VMAX into the active position, which is more favorable for you.
Oh, I think Pedro, it looks like he's going for it though. Like, see him getting ready to Hisuian Heavy Ball and the Lost Vacuum. So yeah, Lost Vacuum, Lost Zoning the Hisuian Heavy Ball, and then his own Forest Seal Stone that will get, of course, to 8 in the Lost Zone. It's going to be... Actually, it's getting to 10 even relevant in Pedro's list. Is that anyone uses 10? No.
Just wants to play the Lost Vacuum to thin 2 cards, essentially, from the hand. Oh, there is a Mirage Gate in here. Okay, so this is a much better hand than we expected. We can see Mirage Gate and Attach Retreat, because, of course, the Direflame Wings was the energy that we see on the board right now. So this is actually a much better turn than we first thought from Pedro here.
Maybe the debate is whether it's worth taking a KO on a Mew when really your prize map ideally is free.
That's true.
Yeah.
But as you know, Ward is quite capable of just trying to use those Psychic Leaps. So this is going to be still quite a resource-intensive game for Pedro. You've used an early Galarian Moltres, but of course you do have the option to Super Rod this back into the deck. And there's still the Raihan combinations and whatnot. But holding Roaring Moon plus Raihan in this hand right now is really looking solid for next turn. So it's going to be not only Ward looking for a KO on this Galarian Moltres V, but also trying to combine it with Disruption, which I think is going to be the most integral part here.
Yeah,
So
so
if that can make life awkward for Pedro or not.
So in terms of disruption in Ward's list, so what's he working with here is, because obviously the disruption packages in Mew can vary a little bit, so it's good to get some
The
idea.
Roxanne and the Judge in their deck list, so it would only really be Judge, which isn't too terrible, but it might force Pedro to proactively bench a Roaring Moon here, which can sometimes be awkward.
Awkward, but I think it's also fine, right? Because you know you want to be attacking with it at some point, and you know that Ward is always going to be targeting a 2-prizer.
Moltres is the real threat. Yeah, exactly. When Moltres is fully powered, yeah, I do like proactively benching Roaring Moon because Pedro has to have in mind the hand disruption coming down most likely next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mew's going to be drawing a billion cards, right? Chances are it's going to see some kind of hand disruption. Or
He always has it. That's the rule.
That is the rule.
And they're set up like this, they're going to draw so many cards as Pedro finally does weave in their Galarian Moltres V. Just going to be taking a 2-prize knockout, but will be going ahead in the prize race and also leaving a huge threat in the active for Ward to get through.
Yeah, so Aura Burn takes the KO on the Mew, 20 damage going on to... 30 damage going on to the Moltres, 2 prizes for Pedro, 4 prizes away from winning game 1, but now it's back on Ward to see how he can respond. Now, we know that Ward already has the KO ready, right? Because the Mew VMAX is there, so it's not going to be a problem. It's going to be a matter of whether Ward wants to try and go for something different, maybe, as you mentioned, with Power Tablets or a Psychic Leaper and some kind of different attacking path.
Yeah, the hand is awkwardly clogged as well. These Power Tablets, not great right now, but they're at least doing something. I believe Ward was able to take that Mew VMAX from the prizes, so there's another one in hand now, so that's at least one relief for you. Yeah, we are going to see this evolution, but there's not many cards you can thin. It's going to be Power Tablets just so that you can reduce your hand size right now. I think it's just a number of Boss's Orders, which really aren't good right now.
But also, this cuts you off from your Psychic Leap now, because you don't have any more Mew Vs on the board, so I guess Ward realizing that he just needs to deal with this with this Galarian Moltres now, as you do see a Power Pad shuffling the Elisa Sparkle back in. But again, you don't really want to do that, but you have to, right?
Yeah, you never want to draw this Sparkle again. We've seen all of our Fusion Energy. There's 2 in the discard pile and 2 in play. So this is always a card that you're going to hate seeing again, but we just need to have access to more cards right now for our Fusion Strike system. Genesect requires us to have low hand sizes to top back up on cards. So this is going to be a really rough one. I think it's only 1 card being drawn from Genesect here.
Yeah, 1 card, and is that...
Escape Rope, that's also really something you don't want to do because there's a Moltres staring you down. So
is that
this is going to work out really nicely for Pedro, where, yes, Ward is keeping up in prize cards, but you know that Pedro's held a really strong hand, and there's a Roaring Moon staring you down now as well.
Very, very awkward for Ward. It does get the KO, which is, it helps, and you also know that Pedro, if they're likely going to be taking KO next turn, you have that Roxanne that you just got off the prizes ready to fire off as well, so that can be good for a comeback for next turn. But for now, it's Pedro is going to be digging for this 3-prize knockout.
Pedro's hand is insane. Has Super Rod, has Nest Ball, so can recover Moltres, has Raihan and Mirage Gate, so can power up a Roaring Moon fully, take a 3-prize KO, and start setting up a Moltres. This is going to be an incredible turn for Pedro.
And also, Pedro had another Lost Vacuum to get rid of the Box of Disaster as well.
Yeah, I think one of the only missing pieces for Pedro was not having a Stadium, perhaps, as well. That could have been something you Raihan for, maybe, so that you can use a Calamity Storm rather than a Frenzied Gouging, but at least getting rid of the Box of Disaster means you can use Frenzied Gouging if you really have to.
Yeah, and that's this is a really, really, really good turn. So Super Rod shuffles back in the Galarian Moltres, a Water, and a Lightning Energy. Nest Ball is now going to undoubtedly grab this Moltres right back, and Pedro is pretty much perfectly set up here to do what he wants.
Yeah,
and Dire Flame Wings
immediately to this Moltres. We have the Raihan plus Mirage Gate combination for this Roaring Moon, as well as the Moltres on the bench, and then you could just manually attach the last Darkness Energy onto the active. This is everything you need.
This is basically setting up a checkmate scenario.
Yeah, this is perfect right now. This is why we were stressing so much about needing to have hand disruption on Ward's last turn, but their hand was just clogged with Boss's Orders and Escape Ropes and the Path of the Peak, which is no help. Pedro going to fish out another Mirage Gate and really just establish his board so fantastically.
Yeah, making sure there's basically no way for Ward to come back from this. Dark Energy plus whatever else energy that he wants just to power up this Roaring Moon.
Lightning, why not? You don't really have any Lightning attacker available. This second Mirage Gate can go onto Moltres and onto a Confe to retreat.
Although it looks like
be disrupted in any way, shape, or form.
Only Water Energy in deck, though, it looks like. So
true, yeah. So only Water remaining. So he could have actually had an extra energy out if you'd gone for the Water Energy first onto Roaring Moon. And then you could have had Lightning and Water. So you're actually -1ing your energy there based on how Pedro Mirage gated.
Yeah, that's slightly awkward there, unfortunately, but that's just
still a manual attachment, even though we've just burst 5 energy onto this board, though.
Yeah. I think no matter which way you look at it, Pedro's in a very, very good spot now, and maybe doesn't even need to attach the energy from hand. Maybe just wants to keep it there.
Makes you a little bit vulnerable to Path to the Peak. So if your Direflame Wings is shut off, Pedro just making sure that the Fusion Strike energy won't stop a Frenzied Gouging because there's no Stadium currently on this board. But of course, you are able to Frenzy Gouge. This is an effective attack.
Yes, Fusion Strike energy.
I like this turn attachment from Pedro. The water energy on the Greninja is quite curious. I'd like to see this on a Comfey more myself.
Yeah, because of course you want to give yourself the option to maybe if the Roman gets KO'd, yeah, you bring up a Comfey and Flash Collecting so you have like a little bit more dig into the deck, but...
Pedro waves away the new VMAX. I'm going to have to Frenzy Gouge because I didn't Raihan for a Stadium. Went for Mirage Gate instead to set up this duo of attackers. And we'll take a huge 3 prize card swing here, just having 1 remaining in this first game of round 3.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. So now pressure's really, really on Ward because he knows that he can't win this turn, right? There's no way for him to take 3 prizes in 1 turn. So he now is a really, really key turn for him to find some kind of disruption. Like if he does not find disruption this turn, then the game is as good as over. It might even be over regardless, but Ward's going to do the best he can to try and counteract this.
And Ultra Ball's a huge pickup. It's going to allow you to get rid of some of these cards that were clogging your hand, and also you can get a basic down to increase the draw power from your Fusion Strike system. So this is exactly what Ward needed here to try and have a lifeline in this game. Also going to have a quick look at some resources. Again, there's just double turbo energies remaining in terms of an attacking threat for this Mew. But Psychic Leap really doesn't matter anymore. Pedro's down to a single prize card and nothing can tank hits. So you are just going to be setting your stall out with this 1 Mew VMAX, trying to take a KO, hope that with a Roxanne ideally, that Pedro can't find a way of attacking with their Moltres. And in fairness, a lot of the energy have been thinned out of the deck at this stage.
Yeah, that is true.
Wow, pathing proactively here as well. I guess to use Path of the Peak to stop Direflame Wings from being the easy win. So you do have to use this, but it means this Roxanne has to hit double turbo energy to keep in this game.
Yeah, it does also stop a potential draw from Greninja with the concealed cards as well. So yeah, just really trying to minimize the odds that Pedro finds the counter attack. Also very interesting that Ward actually Ultra Balled for the Ice Cube and benched it. Now of course not going to be doing anything attacking wise. All the Fusion Strike energies are gone, but it's literally just to get another Fusion Strike Pokemon on the bench to draw more cards later on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see the big 6. We need to see double turbo energy here. We've turned off all of our Genesect.
Oh, no.
This is going to be really rough for Ward. Can you make a comeback from this position?
Well, I mean,
there's a Stadium down as well, so Calamity Storm is knocking out pretty much everything on the board. You can go for an escape rope play, just make life more awkward for Pedro, but Pedro could go straight into the Greninja now.
But if you can't get the knockout, you've got nothing, right? That's it.
It's going to be just a retreat into Ice Cube. Switch karting. Can we reduce our hand size in any way? I don't think we can. The Peak is blocking all of these Genesect right now.
Well, yeah, but you can reduce the hand size, it just doesn't do anything. And
Ward is in a really tough spot.
Escape rope and hope Pedro brings up the wrong thing.
I just spent your switch card as well, though. That's the issue, because now you go into a Pokemon that has a retreat cost, and you'd have to find another switch card next turn to actually do anything, as well as your energy to attack with.
I think Ward a little bit flustered here, and
call my bluff moment really with this escape rope. I like to see the Greninja come into the active position here personally. A Comfey is also fine depending on what Pedro has in hand. If they already have access to one of your many switch outs remaining, that could still be fine.
But yeah, just very, very, very awkward. No, you know that you can't do that.
Cannot use Fusion Strike system thanks to Path of the Peak. I think Ward was trying to get a little bit ahead of themselves there. Well caught by Pedro, who is definitely keeping an eye on things here.
Yeah.
It was a lost vacuum that was on the top. We could see that, so I'm certain that Ward would have been able to see that.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what this outcome is from the judges, that Ward is in an position where they can no longer win. I think this is always going to be a game 1 win to Pedro here, no matter what this judge outcome is going to be.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, right? Because, like, like, obviously there was a rule broken, right? You know, he saw a card they shouldn't have done. The game is over anyway, but of course we have to, you know, do things like the book and make sure that that they're sorted out. So, yeah, just whilst they do that, no matter what, like you said, we know that Pedro has won that game 1. And I think really demonstrating just how effective this new aged Lost Box toolbox package really is.
Yeah, and it just shows that the Mirage Gate is actually the selling point of the archetype. It's no longer about these sneaky Lost Mine damage counter placements just because you can carve out so many multi-prize turns. With the combination of Iron Hands and with these 2 Dark type attackers, Pedro's also able to weave in a Forest Seal Stone, which is so powerful, and having Direflame Wings means that you can not only make 1 threat last, you can also have a second one raring to go, and with the help of Raihan in there as well, Pedro is in a really, really strong position actually to checkmate in that situation. We will get confirmation on the judge ruling, but as we said, Ward was in a really tough position, a high pressure situation, had basically missed off their Roxanne double turbo energy. And typically when you're playing against Mew, it's not really about the supporter draw, it's about the remainder of the draw on your bench. So you can see why they went for this line, but immediately caught by Pedro, which is actually going to really help us out here resolving the issue before anything's got too far out of hand. But we do want to hear from you. What did you think of that first game? How's it going to play out in games 2 and 3? What can Ward do differently, perhaps, to give themselves a better chance in these next games? Because you've seen more of Pedro's deck now. This first game was almost trying to figure out what was going on. It wasn't until like turn 2 or 3 where Pedro even revealed Darkness Energy in the first place, which really changes the course of the game for Ward, as we are going to talk a little bit more about Lost Box here and how different it's become in this new age.
It's wild how I think back to when Lost Box first came out, right? I think about it as sort of the first few regionals of last season, and how really Sablezard was like the way to go, right? And that played maybe 1-0 Mirage Gates at the time, and it really wasn't. And also at this point, Lost and Giratina wasn't really as much of a presence. Like some people played it, but it didn't really have much of a big of an impact. And it just seemed like Mirage Gate was kind of almost like the most underrated card of the whole archetype. But now it is the biggest focus, and people realize, attaching 2 different energies on an item card is pretty good.
Yeah, Lost Zone just finds a way. We've seen some really wacky combinations. We've seen amazing Rayquaza and Raikou as a combination of attackers just for decent type coverage and one-hit KO potential. We've seen Greninja basically be a constant throughout that as well. And Charizard's kind of coming back in vogue as well, actually with Mirage Gates, which is something you haven't seen too often, actually, where you have Roaring Moon in a list with Radiant Charizard to have that dark type coverage, which Pedro is utilizing so well, but you also just have the generic high damage output of Radiant Charizard. Doing that 250 is still super efficient, and if you can get that online earlier in the game and recycle it with Clara and Super Rod, you're still having this huge single prize threat, which is boasting uptrade potential.
Yeah, I mean, people think of Radiant Charizard as this late game attacker, right? You think, okay, it has this Excited Heart ability, the attack cost is reduced for each prize card my opponent takes, so in the late game it's attacking for 1 energy. But do you know what you can also do? You can just put 5 energy on it.
Just ramp it up.
Just put 5 energy on it, attack turn 2, or whatever you want to do. So, yeah.
Confirmation there of Pedro's victory in that game 1. It was due to a double prize penalty for seeing an additional card when you're unable to draw with Fusion Strike system to Path of the Peak, but we've pretty much already explained that the game, as soon as the double turbo was missed from the Roxanne, that it's going to be over for Ward no matter what. Pedro was in a position with a Darkness attacker in the active that had to be dealt with, as well as one pretty much raring to go on the bench. So even without that judge ruling, it would have been a victory for Pedro in this game 1 situation, but we are going to be shuffling up for that game 2, and I think it's going to be an interesting one, Freya, where Pedro had a pretty good start, was able to Colrus and get those VIPs rolling, also wasn't hand disrupted, which I think was the crucial element there. They got an attack in early with Moltres and then wasn't hand disrupted, where they were able to hold on to Gate, Raihan, Rod, Nestball to really amass that combination. I feel like even though the Fusion Strike build is less known for its hand disruption, that's still got to be Ward's way back into the 2nd and 3rd game.
Yeah, the hand disruption came a little bit too late, right? It came on the turn afterwards with the Roxanne, but then at that point, Pedro was way too far ahead. And maybe, just thinking back to that last game, right, could there maybe have been an argument for Ward to not do that proactive path, thinking, okay, I need to hit the path and the double turbo energy. If I path now, I'm giving myself less options to hit the double turbo that I need, whereas if I give myself the draw options, there's a chance I could just redraw into the path and the double turbo.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you shut off 3 Genesects, you actually shut off potentially a dig of like 20 cards deep if you can find the right combination. There were still many Ultra Balls remaining. There were still many Cramorants remaining in the deck for Ward, so there were options to keep sort of reducing your hand size down, topping back up, reducing back down, topping back up, and draw back into that Path of the Peak. It's only 1 copy, though, so you can kind of see why none of the double turbo energies had been used. So the Roxanne was reasonable at finding what it needed, and you did have to path that turn, because otherwise the Direflame Wings will just immediately respond on you on the board. So it had to be a crucial element. You can see why they went for the Roxanne, but it's also one of those debates, right? You do have so much draw power with your Genesects that locking it out so proactively on your turn may have hurt your outs in the end.
Yeah, maybe. And I guess, to be fair, if it's only 1 pass at the peak, I actually wasn't sure how many were in the list. So I guess with the fusion build, you're usually only playing 1 or like not many more.
It's hard to fit it all in, right?
It's different with the double turbo versions. Those usually focus on more pass at the peak, and then at that point it's a lot easier to kind of justify not going for it, because you're more likely to draw into another copy. But clearly not the case there, and so yeah, it makes sense with the proactive path if it is only the 1 of, and knowing how many double turbos left in deck. So a little bit unfortunate for Ward, but I'm sure he'll be having a better idea of what he's up against. We'll be looking to sort of brush dust himself off and come back in game 2.
I think that's really important as well, because you actually do play a single prize grass attacking Pokemon, as we do see the prize cards come down for this second game. Pedro 1 game up with 28 minutes remaining on the clock, who's once again started with the 1-off Meteor. And Ward is going to kick things off in this second game with a Battle VIP pass. It's what you want to see if you're going to try and make this reverse sweep.
Yeah, they're definitely off to a great start already. Yeah, I can't believe Pedro starts with a Minior again. Like,
it's pretty low odds, but here we are. It's not a great card for this matchup at all.
No, didn't seem to hurt him too much in the last game, though, to be fair.
That's true, that's true. Stuck around, it was just the mascot in that game 1.
It was.
Ward is going to get double Genesect V developed. As we've already stated, this is how you begin to draw through your deck. I see Forest Seal Stone once again, and that's immediately going to be flipped for another Battle VIP pass, I would hedge.
That's you'll love to see it. It's funny because obviously with the Forest Seal Stone, with the Star Alchemy, it is nice if you can not use it turn 1. It is nice to have it as an option later to search for an exact card you need. But the whole reason it's in there is exactly because if you do need it in those early situations, then you may as well just go for it, right? And then it means you get your amazing setup turn 1. And if you sets up amazingly turn 1, that's usually how it wins the game anyway.
And here we go, Freya. I am rubbing my hands because a Battle VIP pass has found a Shelmet. And this is going to throw another spanner in the works for Pedro. Ward could try and use a single prize Pokemon to... I think we have to get the second Battle VIP pass out the deck here.
There's
the Forest Seal Stone as the action.
Yeah, I think it might have been
double turbo energy attachment here.
There's only one in a discard pile, right? Unless it's kind of off screen a little bit.
Yeah, they may be on top of each other. We just have to make sure that the Forest Seal, the Forest Seal Stone was always targeting a Battle VIP pass. We'll just sort of skip the step with grabbing 2 basic Pokemon immediately, the Shelmet and the Mew. So we just have to take a Battle VIP pass out of the deck here, I believe. This is going to possibly just take a little bit of time here. It's going to be another judge confirmation of what's going on. I think the intention is clear from Ward that a Battle VIP pass should be the selection from their Forest Seal Stone, but they have just gone immediately for the Mew and Shelmet. So I think just a bit of a discussion going on with Ward and the judge here, just so everything's clear.
I guess the thing is, because strictly speaking, the card that he got out of the deck wasn't Battle VIP pass. Like, maybe that's, even though the intention was clear, like if you go by the actual game actions that were done, maybe, it's hard to say. So,
yeah, it's understandable for Ward to be a little bit flustered. They've just come off having a double prize penalty against them when they were in a tough situation. They're also in a tough matchup against a really good player. So you can see them being in their own head and wanting to go through the motions. And it's always a great feeling that you start your second game knowing that you need to win, and then you started with effectively 2 Battle VIP pass. And just skipping that step is such an easy thing. We've all done that before, where you're going in for one thing and then you're just trying to skip ahead. And I think it has been resolved. We'll just get confirmation of if there was any warnings or any penalties given, but I think it should be a pretty easy one where the intention was clear that a Battle VIP pass should have been the selection from the Forest Seal Stone.
Yeah, that's been resolved with no fuss and no quarrel, so yeah, let's see that. Now it's going to be up to Ward to continue. There's a Box of Disaster there going onto the double turbo engine Mew.
Yep, we saw that Pedro had to remove that in order to use a Frenzied Gouging, so it can be an important option for Ward here, who is going to end on just attaching that double turbo energy and passing things over to Pedro, who kicks things off with a Hisuian Heavy Ball here.
Yeah, always a great card to start off, of course. So just saves you that time of when you were having to search your deck to check your prizes. You can just look at all your prizes, and then you can, of course, get a basic Pokemon out from your prizes if there are any there. But it looks like there's, well, as we already saw, there's none for Pedro this time. So instead, just going to take a quick note of what's prized.
Literally.
Yeah.
Player after my own heart. I love when Hisuian Heavy Ball's in the format. For me, it's a no-brainer to have this little notepad to the side so you can just keep track of what is and isn't prized. So sometimes it's just so important when you are keeping an eye on what's in deck, but also sometimes you can reach for prize cards thinking that you have a decent shot of finding something from those prize cards if you know exactly what they are, in order to give yourself plays for the following turn. Sometimes you can go down on fumes if, for example, you have supporters in your prize cards. So that could be a play that's open to you, as Pedro is going to kick things off with a Battle VIP pass after the fail to Hisuian Heavy Ball.
Yeah, go very happy we're starting with that. There are a couple of nest balls in the prizes, so maybe some to the late game search might be a little bit limited, but I mean, if you're starting off with a VIP pass, you probably don't mind too much regardless.
Yeah, this is still the primary search option that these players look for on the opening turn, because Battle VIP Pass is only able to be played on the opening turn. The rest of the time, it's going to be fodder for the Lost Zone in Pedro's deck. We're going to see the early Comfey as well as the Radiant Greninja. As we've seen, Pedro does utilize energy hitting the discard pile, especially Darkness Energy, so that's also going to be a really nice opening option here to see an additional 2 cards. Does find a couple of good things here, I believe.
Again, that Dark Engine discard pile.
Gates, actually.
Oh, it's
Does have escape rope for Comfey here, so can begin on their Lost Zone mission here. Has a second Comfey in hand as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what actually brings up. I guess it has to be the other Mew. You're not fearing a turn 1 knockout, even though it's not possible, but it's also quite unlikely, so especially given Pedro's current board state. So I guess it's pretty safe to bring up the Mew here.
Yeah, my soft rule is that if they don't start a Comfey, it's really difficult for them to get to 7 in one turn. Even with the likes of Chorus and Lost Vacuum, it's just so many switch outs that your opponent has to find. That's my soft rule whenever I'm coming up against a Lost Zone, unless they have a really barnstorming opener of like double VIP into Chorus immediately. Yeah,
so there's another fast letting a Water Energy going into the Lost Zone this time, but not much else more than that, I think. There is a Forest Steel Stone in hand, but there's no V Pokemon that Pedro has access to right now, which limits. In fact, actually, I just realized that Galarian Moltres is the only V in the entire deck. So actually,
Pedro's holding on to Nest Ball Forest, so I think is fairly content to pass here. The hand's like decent, but you could go Forest Nest.
I guess the thinking.
Combo.
I guess the thinking is you want to be able to do another Chorus experiment, right? Or rather, your first one of the game. If you can do one now, you're much more likely to be able to chain them by digging for more cards into the deck. So I think that is still worth going for, and it looks like Pedro has decided that as well. Yep. Of course. Star Alchemy.
Yeah, the risk of this play is that Mew is very good at using Boss's Orders to just take out the Moltres. And it's such a key attacker for you. Pedro hasn't seen Lost City just yet, but it's something you have to have in the back of your mind when you're coming up against a Mew as well. So it's definitely a risk to proactively using your Moltres V, because it's such an easy play for Ward next turn to simply look to take a 2-prize knockout.
I can only imagine what Pedro's thinking here is that maybe it's okay for me to give up the Moltres, because what I can then do is just win by taking out a free prize and then a free prizer to just get back the Moltres and just win that way.
That's really fair. Pedro has a couple of Town Store in there, as well as a Mew EX, which isn't ideal as an attacking threat in this matchup, but could still be a way to protect yourself a little bit against some hand disruptors. I think there's already a couple of Mirage Gate in hand for Pedro, but again, when you're up against these Mew decks, you have to expect an element of hand disruption anyway, so even if it's not a card that you need immediately, you might want to just hold on to it in case it gets disrupted from you later.
Yeah,
get rid of both Town Store, though. That's a couple of your Path to the Peak and Lost City outs. Just plays 2 Vacuum and 2 Stadium cards, so that's something we have to follow here, as there is a Dire Flame Wings from Pedro.
I guess the logic is you don't really need it to search out any of your tools at this point. You know, super effective glasses.
I'm just thinking of a bounce.
Yeah,
I just want to bounce something. I'm worried about Lost City here. If the Moltres gets Lost City'd and then the Roaring Moon gets Lost City'd, you can be really limited in your options.
Yeah, that could be rough. I guess.
There's the Aselgor for Ward.
So now will Ward pick up on this then? You know, if he's seeing 2 Town Stores going to the Lost Zone, is he thinking, right, if I can get a Lost City or a Path to the Peak to stick, there's a good chance that it won't, or rather, if I put one down, there's a good chance that it will stick.
Yeah, it's got to be going through your head. You can see it openly that the Town Stores are in the Lost Zone, and there's a head on a Cramomatic here. Could easily be Boss's Orders. Ultra Ball could be unlocking this hand a little bit more as well. I think there's already Fusion Energy in hand for Ward, so it's looking like there could be an easy path to a Ninja Tornado here.
Yeah, and there it is. Ultra Ball is going to be discarding the Path and the Roxanne, interestingly enough. Okay, so definitely good.
I'm going to be ahead this game. I don't need these cards. You can always recover the Roxanne, but the Path is gone for good now.
Yeah, so definitely going to be digging for that Lost City here, just to really limit Pedro's attacking options and to stop that strategy of Pedro being able to, you know, just chain attackers that KO Mew VMAXs with the Super Rods. Yeah,
we need to find Boss's Orders. We've already got the energy to attach to the Aselgor. I think that's still your best option here. The Galarian Moltres V is certainly weak to Grass, so this 120 damage output, as we do see the Fusion Energy onto your Aselgor. We're going to start drawing cards here, looking for Boss's Orders and ideally that Lost City.
It's 6 from the first Fusion Strike system. Nothing there yet, but there is a Feather Ball, so that's a 1 piece you can grab the Mew VMAX. That's something you're going to want regardless. So
Finn's 1 from hand, gets a Pokemon into play. I think there was a number of supporters that you don't want to use in the hand, though. I think I saw a Professor Churros scenario in there, so not necessarily the most amount of thinning you can do here. Maybe some power tablets can get tossed away here just to reduce the hand size. There's Escape Rope, which you can play for essentially no effect, hoping that you can use Boss's Orders later.
Yeah, we're going to play a Power Tablet and then draw 2 more. There's a Sparkle.
Sparkle's not ideal.
Sparkle and a Genesect.
Judge in the hand as well. Judge is a pretty decent option. KO a Comfey, Judge. You're still attacking with the Grass single prize Mon, so that's feeling like okay.
It's not really the turn you want though, is it? And it looks like with no way to dig further into the deck, it looks like There's going to be...
Surprised we're not seeing a lesser sparkle here, though. It's just a good card to reduce your hand at this stage.
Yeah, no less sparkle or judge for that matter.
Yeah. I understand holding on to the judge after your opponent's taking a few more prize cards and accumulated a larger hand size, but a sparkle felt like an easy choice there.
Yeah, because you can just get an energy onto the Mew and to the Mew, right? Yeah.
It's all good, yeah. But we're passing over to Pedro nonetheless. Ward has taken the first prize card, limited Pedro to just one Comfey right now. Let's see how they can respond here. We'll start with a Radiant Greninja. Getting rid of water, it's not ideal. It means you can't get a Dire Flame Wings in for free here. But we are working towards that crucial 7 threshold. There's a Chorus in hand and a Comfey in the active and multiple Mirage Gates. So I wouldn't be surprised if we can launch a response KO here.
Yeah, definitely not going to be a problem. 5 from the Chorus Experiment finds a Boss's Orders, switch cards. It doesn't matter too much at this point. I think having a switching out is nice, but yeah, definitely there's no doubt that Pedro's going to be able to get 7 this turn, and there's really going to be able to start putting the pressure on. But can Pedro get a 2-prize knockout?
No, I don't think there's going to be a way unless we can find escape rope. Oh, there is escape rope in hand.
Oh, okay.
We can Mirage Gate and escape rope after this flower selecting. So Pedro will be having a 2-prize knockout this turn.
At the same time, I guess the other thing you could do is you could go for a 1-3-2 prize map, right? You could just KO the Excelgor, KO Movie Max, and then...
I don't think we have a way towards Cramorant either. I think that's another issue. I think, as we said, so many nest balls in those prizes. I don't think there's an easy way to get a Spit Innocently attack in. I think also one of your only switching outs is that rope. But I do think that's going to be a good prize map. And you would imagine the Excelgor comes back into the active next turn anyway to respond on the Moltres. So that map is still going to be there for you.
Yeah, that's true.
The game.
It's like a bit of an awkward flower selecting here. It's between a switch cart and another energy, but it looks like it's going to be the switch cart going away. Doesn't want to, of course, you don't want to be putting too many energy in. Oh, no, sorry, it's a Mirage Gate. Okay. Yeah.
We have just hit the crucial 7 threshold, though. Pedro also debating a Mew EX coming onto this board. You could Ninja Tornado back into the Excelgor if you really wanted to. It would still take you 3 energy to do it.
Yeah, it perhaps seems a little bit excessive, but that was going to be the escape rope. And yeah, Ward sending up the Mew doesn't want to lose a draw power option with a Genesect, so the Mew by far the safest thing to bring up at this point. Also has free retreat.
And now Pedro can't Genome hack Technoblast either, so would be forced into a Moltres hit. Maybe that was a bait with the escape rope as well. You could Technoblast with Mew EX and keep your Darkness type coverage on the board.
But I think, yeah, Pedro at this point going to have to just KO this Mew with his Moltres, and now is going to be the chance for Ward to find that lost city and to get rid of that Moltres and make it just not a threat anymore.
Pedro's going to commit one of these Mirage Gates, still plenty of Darkness energy in the deck. Ooh, is there only Darkness energy in the deck? Oh, we've got a few Water and Lightning energy scattered around.
Yeah, looks like they're either in the hand or in the discard pile. That's very, very awkward. There's one Lightning Energy in the prize cards for Pedro as well.
Hurting Pedro here. Does have so many Mirage Gate that you can just spend another one, but these are such crucial resources. Maybe you spend one and turn attach here.
Yeah, I think, maybe at this point it's best to just like attach one from hand. You haven't got the Water in hand, so...
You've still got Raihan, you've still got all your Super Rods, so you can recycle these energies eventually.
Yeah, so only getting one off the Mirage Gate, but not really a problem in the end. And it will be that Aura Burn for the knockout onto the Mew and back onto Ward to really try and find this Lost City to make things up.
So once again, Pedro going ahead in the prize race, but this time Ward has a cheeky single prize response already lined up. Doesn't really have to do much else this turn, but it's going to be down to using those judges that we already discussed. That's going to be a big support this turn, I feel.
Draws a Battle VIP pass for turn, not really a card you ever want to see, unless it's Chromatic fodder. Does have a Assuming Heavy Ball in hand as well. Can use that to get the last Movie out of the prize cards if he wants to, and yeah, going to fire that off straight away.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the best Pokemon you can bench at this stage. Keep the threat of the Psychic Leap open as and when you need to, especially if you are weaving in this Excelgor for a 2-prize KO. You can then take another 1-prize knockout whilst Psychic Leaping, and then you sort of deny the 3-2-1 prize map.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be a good route for him to go for. And actually, it looks like it's going to be a judge.
Really like this. Pedro was holding on to so many Mirage Gates that denying that is going to be massive. Yes, there is a Mew EX on this board, so you could whittle down a couple of cards and still draw a few for Pedro, but it's really a soft defense. You're still getting heavily disrupted by this option from Ward, and it's exactly what was missing in that game 1. Let's see how it plays out in the second game, as we're going to see an Excelgor response, a judge at the same time, but also we can top up on so many cards here. We still have all of our Fusion Strike systems.
And this goes back to what you were saying before, of course, about holding the judge, right? This was the best turn to use it, without a doubt. So yeah, that playing in very well for Ward there. There's
still working towards Lost City as well, let's not forget.
Yeah, so 3 cards in hand currently, the ball switching cards, so going to go for the Genesect now. Fusion Strike System number 1. Oh, he finds it already!
Lost City is massive here, especially when you're doing a hand disruptor. This is great. This is a real problem for Pedro now.
This is exactly what Ward wanted to see. Finding the Lost City straight away off of the first Fusion Strike system, and Ward is in a very, very good position right now to win this game.
And here comes the Ninja Tornado from Aselgor. What a crazy inclusion to the Mew deck. Mew finds a way, and turns out the answer is Aselgor all along. A 2-prize swing back in Ward's favor, and is also getting rid of the Moltres for good. That's going to make life much more difficult for Pedro throughout this game.
Yeah. So now a lot of energies in Pedro's discard pile, so Super Rod is going to be very, very important to find this turn for starters. Going to be able to have a few different options to dig. There's a Mirage Gate in hand. Maybe if you can fin this hand out, you can use that restart on the Mew EX as well.
Yeah.
But flower selecting
Start with
first.
flower selecting. Right hand's pretty big.
Oh, yes.
It's against the boss's orders, which is a shame, but you have another boss's orders in hand anyway. And if you are going through this Aselgor, you probably only need to gust at maximum at one time. So I like having the right hand option here. You could right hand for a retreat play and then just simply use Cramorant this turn for a KO.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go. I mean, it goes back to that map from before, right? You can do, you've taken 2 prizes at this point. You can KO the Aselgor and then just KO Mew to finish the game. So that's absolutely a viable way to win. And look, but looks like it's going to be Escape Rope.
Yeah, you've got free retreat on Mew EX. So again, you can just sort of see what's what. I think Pedro wanted Ward to put a Genesect up again, but he's just refusing to do so. The genome hacking is really good into Technoblast, but Ward said no to that in both occasions.
Yeah, we're recognizing that putting up a Genesect here would be risky because of that Mew threat. And yeah.
For now with right hand.
Yeah, because now Mew doesn't have an easy way to take a KO, right? Unless
you could right hand for Counter Catcher and counter catch Mirage Gate and hack a Genesect.
You could also boss's orders to bring up a Genesect and then just attach a Mirage Gate as well. That would also work.
Yep, that's true. But we had to get some energy back into this deck, remember?
There was some in hand. I don't know if there's enough in the deck after the judge to Mirage Gate.
Possibly to Greninja here. Aselgor does only have 90 hit points, so you can use a Moonlight Shuriken to KO Aselgor and set up another Pokemon for a KO.
And of course, and if you do that, you can KO the Aselgor and then do 90 to the Mew VMAX, and then that's a very, very easy pick-off later on.
Yep. It is going to be the Super Rod, no surprises there, back into the hand, so you can rod these energies back in and then gate them back onto the board immediately. It's going to be a Darkness Energy that stays in the discard pile. Yeah, Water, Lightning, and Dark coming back in. I imagine the Lightning Water come immediately back out of the deck.
Yes.
Dark Energies around for Roaring Moon later on.
Yeah, yeah, I really like this line. I think considering the hand that Pedro has dealt, I think this is probably one of the best lines you could have taken because you're still working yourself towards that prize map that you wanted.
Darkness Energy is still coming onto the board here.
Ooh.
I feel like Lightning Energy is the best thing to go, honestly.
Yeah, because, I mean...
That would be 2 Darkness Energy in your discard pile now, and 1 in hand, so you're kind of blocking your own Roaring Moon late game play here. Lightning Energy is not great, honestly, unless you're going for some damage onto a Genesect or a Mew, and then you could have a Boss's Orders Iron Hands 3-prize play as well.
Oh, that could be...
It's sneaky. It's an option.
I mean, another option you could have gone with kind of the other way around, right? You could take a KO 2-prizer and then Iron Hands and Aselgor as well.
That's also true.
Yeah. So, but maybe, yeah, with that in mind, Pedro wants to preserve the Lightning Energy for the Iron Hands option, so...
Obviously, Genesect can't leap into the deck, so that would always be a Boss's Orders play. Pedro really keep having an interesting line open here.
But yeah, in this case, I guess it's going to be Moonlight Shuriken, KO the Aselgor, and then 92 a Genesect, and then, just Boss's Orders.
Yeah, I feel like it's a tough one. You can see Pedro debating it here. I think because it was a Darkness Energy that was taken out of the deck, it makes sense to damage a Genesect, because then you're lining up an Iron Hands 3-prize play. If it was a Lightning Energy, you would go for the Mew and force a Psychic Leap, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big debate that Pedro is having here. But actually has multiple ways of taking a 3-prize knockout next turn. Yeah,
because this gives you multiple options, right? You can either just KO a Mew with a Roaring Moon, or you can KO a Genesect V with an Iron Hand. So yeah, definitely multiple avenues that Pedro could take to win, especially given that there was a Crammatic Tails there from Ward just now. That's pretty awkward.
That's pretty big, because Pedro has just taken their 3rd prize of the game, so Roxanne is open for a hand disruption KO as well.
It's going to be very important for Ward to find. Of course, one did get discarded earlier, so...
would have to Pal Pad if they wanted to weave that in.
Does Ward only play the 1?
Yep, that's the problem with Fusion build.
Got the room,
you're fitting in an Aselgor as well. It's even more tricky.
Oh, another Cram Tails.
2 tails on the Crammatic.
Yeah,
really limiting the options.
One saving grace for Ward, there is a lot of hand thinning in Ward's hand right now. So there's another Ultra Ball there. There's a Boss's Orders, which I guess he could play, but there's no real reason to at this point. I think you probably just want to deal with the threat in front of you.
Yeah. Also, like, Pedro's hand is only 4 cards, I believe. So if you're doing a Roxanne to 2 and they have Mew EX on the board anyway, is it even that much better than a Boss's Orders this turn?
Yeah, no, I guess that's also true. I mean,
The Boss is going to get discarded by the looks of things.
debating it. Yeah, okay, so the boss gets discarded, and probably, does Ward even have any Pokemon left? So, okay, there's one Genesect left, so...
Oh, the Palpal was the next card. Ward was certainly looking for that. You could just see in his eyes that he was a little bit frustrated with that one.
Always the way. Always the way.
Getting punished for playing correctly, that's Pokemon sometimes.
Yeah, but with 4 Fusion Strike systems on board, Ward's going to have a lot of draw here, so odds are definitely with him to piece together something good. We do see... Oh, there's the Palpad
here, so that's definitely a piece. Then we've got to draw back into our supporters. I feel like you've got to put the Boss's Orders back in addition to this Roxanne. You can go Roxanne Judge just for a higher chance of having some disruption.
Yeah, that would also work.
You do want to have a 2-attack prize map of having Boss's Orders on Mew EX as well from Pedro's end, so I like Boss coming back into the deck as well.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, because you would feel very sad, right, if you do Roxanne this turn and later on you miss the win because you couldn't bring up the 2-prizer. Yeah. So definitely the right call here, and now it's going to be another Fusion Strike system. 3 more to go. Can Ward find the Roxanne to disrupt Pedro?
Not sure how many cards we can thin from the hand. I think there's a Fusion Strike energy that can be attached. The rest isn't too easy to get rid of. There's a Power Tablet as well.
That's pretty good, actually. There's a Mew VMAX, there's a Nest Ball, there's an Escape Probe.
Okay, fair enough.
Actually, yeah.
You can go low.
Power Tablet, yeah.
Start doing the Mew Limbo.
Oh, wait, oh no, you can't play Nest Ball because the bench is full.
Yeah, the bench is full here. We're not going all the way to the bottom, but we are thinning a few cards here. Also giving Pedro a question with this Escape Rope. Feeding Minior seems like the most logical choice.
Yeah, it's the thing you mind losing the least, right? I mean, it is a bit awkward to retreat it, but I'm sure you can just find a switching card if need be.
Everything else on this board draws you cards.
Yes.
So keeping all of them on the board seems reasonable.
Oh.
Maybe Confe coming up.
Okay. Maybe he's not confident in Ward's ability to find a KO? Or maybe he's just worried about the Minior getting stuck.
But what does Mew do if they're sticking a Minior? Like, the board's full. There's not going to be any option for even any random Oricorio sprinkle or anything like that.
Yeah.
Also, it's pretty good to get rid of Minior.
Interesting that Ward opted to not attach the Fusion Strike energy and then went for the...
Quick Genesect.
Genesect, but then drew a bunch of energy.
This is getting a lot murkier now.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just 2 Fusion... Oh, we're 3 Fusion Strike systems down.
Yeah, he did 1 for 1.
We can vacuum away one of our own Forest Seal Stone here just to reduce our hand size a little bit.
So vacuum, yeah, you can get rid of Nest Ball. Yeah,
clogged, so that makes sense.
Yep. So there's going to the Lost Zone there.
Just 2 more draws.
Is there? Can you?
There was the option to VMAX, but keeping the Psychic Leap open. We have seen Tablet this turn as well, I believe. So there is a Psychic Leap option for Ward.
Oh, that is true.
So you definitely want to leap this turn. It means that Pedro would have to find an Iron Hands Boss's Orders play, which is insane to try and find. Or Counter Catcher could do it as well, to be fair.
Yeah, especially given Pedro's relatively low hand size. So it's been
showing that the tablet's been played, just confirming with your opponent. Always good to be on the same wavelength as your opponents.
Is there an argument to Echoing Horn to clog up Pedro's bench as well? I don't know if there's anything...
I think we've lost City'd most of the Pokemon. I think that's the problem.
Yeah. But there it is, Psychic Leap.
Yeah, so going into one of the healthier Genesect is the best choice here.
Yep. So now it's on Pedro. Can he piece together?
There's a Chorus in the hand. Pedro does play Counter Catcher, which is live right now. Ward is going down to 2 prize cards remaining. So this is a big turn for Pedro. There's a Mew EX, which is... Oh, the Counter Catcher is a huge pickup.
Counter Catch off the top of the deck, and now Pedro is very, very close to be able to piece this together.
Lost Vacuum is also reducing your hand size for Mew EX to draw cards. You've got Radiant Greninja, which can draw you some cards as well here. Still a big combo required, don't forget.
It is,
but... Orders is an easy discard or Lost Zone from the hand because you're already holding on to Counter Catcher.
You've got to be fancying your chances there, right?
He's going to get removed.
Yeah.
Play.
Pedro a little bit hesitant about it, but knowing his right move, and I think a Counter Catcher going to bring up...
Look at this, it's going to be the Mew instead, because this is the only valid attacker on Ward's board right now. Don't have to win the game if you just stop your opponent attacking you back.
That's very true, yeah, it's another way of winning a game.
There's Chorus here.
Chorus after the restart, 5 cards, what does Pedro find? There's a Mirage Gate, but
Mirage Gate, Super Rod. I don't think we have any Ball Search to go alongside this.
that's not going to do it.
You can use Gradient Greninja to draw 2 as well after this Chorus. Let's not forget, there is an energy in hand. The Cramorant not useful at this stage.
No.
The Pokémon also useless if you're thinking it's going down to just 1 turn remaining. Played your supporter.
Yeah. And
a huge Radiant Greninja.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe you can Moonlight Shuriken. That would be like 10 off a KO on a Genesect as well.
Oh. A little bit short right now. This has to be a monster 2 draws. Yeah, looks like it has to be another energy as well as a Ball Search card here. Yeah, or a Gates plus Ball Search card.
Chorus not finding what Pedro needed, so it's going to be relying on this concealed cards.
Yeah, it has to be Roaring Moon here.
Yeah, it has to be.
Otherwise, there's this Mew EX just waiting to get KO'd. I don't mind the Super Rod at all because another, like an energy is actually an out for you here.
Yes, it is.
Because you need to redraw into an energy to turn attach to finish your Roaring Moon combo. It's going to be a proactive Mirage Gate. This is interesting.
Maybe Pedro's thinking of attaching to the Mew, or to the Greninja, but no, it's going to be the Mew here. Maybe thinking of a genome hacking.
Are we just going to Psychic Leap here, back, and send up Minior after a Psychic Leap?
Well, if you do that, you stop Ward from being able to win because there's no 2 prizes left on the field.
Yep. You leave yourself in a pretty rough situation, but you're hitting for 70, and you're sending up Minior. This is a really strange Lost Zone board on Pedro. You've stopped your opponent winning next turn. You've left yourself with literally just a Chorus in hand. Let's see what Ward can do here.
Don't think I've ever seen genome hacking copying Psychic Leap before. That's the first for me.
I'm a Mew as well.
Wow, okay.
Origin story of a fusion Mew.
Yeah, no kidding. Ward's hand is still very clogged up with stuff right now. There is a 1 energy that he can attach, but there's also 2 more. There's a couple of double turbos, and then there's a Mew VMAX too, but some power tablets, but not really ideal.
There's still no targets for this Echoing Horn. It's so wild that we've got this far through the game, and there is a Confe, but it gives your opponent draw.
Yeah, no, you don't really want to bring that back unless you, I guess maybe...
Pedro only has a 2-card hand. It's like, do you even want to dig for Roxanne at this stage?
No, not really. I think there might be an argument for it if you just needed to draw more cards, but what cards would you be wanting to look for here?
Yeah. I mean, you're just giving your opponent a different 2 random cards rather than one that may have been procured from a previous Chorus.
Yeah.
That's the only debate here.
Okay, there's a switch card. That's actually quite relevant. That puts Genesect out of range of an Iron Hands, so...
It does. There's going to be a Mew VMAX coming down onto this board as well. It's whether or not you can leap again. How many Mew have been KO'd, actually?
It's quite a lot at this point, I think.
Pedro's still at 3 prize cards, let's not forget. We've denied the Iron Hands play with that switch card. We want to work towards at least a Mew. Ideally, we find another. There's 2 boss and Countercatcher gone, so you can quite freely only put 1 Mew down onto this board and leap and be okay.
Yeah, and it looks like he has gone for...
Right, it's Churro and Ice Cube.
Oof. I mean, Ice Cube you can put down and make the other Genesects draw more, so that's something at least, but then...
You can pick up the 1 Genesect that's drawn cards and go again. Yep. Also looking at resources now, Ward's going to keep an eye on how many Mirage Gate have been played. Also, crucially, so many Gusting supports have been used.
Oh, very, very tense here.
We're not going to see a Psychic Leap with a bench of Ice Cube here, unless we Churro back up the Ice Cube with a Mew V found, which I don't think we have done.
But it is an option, though. I mean, it would also be nice because you can, of course, pick up the Genesect with the damage, although that one hasn't used its ability yet, though. You kind of...
lost a little bit of value, but you're also clogged with so much stuff anyway. You even going to be able to use any cards here?
I mean, just for that second Fusion Strike system, you could have... Oh, there it is!
So rough. We'd have had an easy Psychic Leap play. Instead, it's going to be the Block Slider copied here to get rid of a Confe. This keeps the Minior active. This is a really smart line from Ward.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Now the Echoing Horn makes more sense, right? Because you think, oh, you're just giving your opponent an extra card to work with, but if you can Block Slider, that way you're keeping this Awkward Retreater in the active.
What can Pedro conjure up with this Chorus? Well, we see some energy. We see some easy fodder cards. There goes the super effective glasses and the Battle VIP pass. It's going to be down to this Greninja to see our final couple, and time has been called here. It's Pedro currently at 1 game up. Ward in a really good position to close out the second game, so this is a huge 2 cards from concealed cards.
Concealed cards, 1, 2. What does Pedro find? It's a Mew EX and a And was that an energy? Yeah, that's not...
You can't get there. No Mirage Gate players. The hand is too clogged to reduce our hand size down for any draws.
And of course, with the genome hacking, of course, you can't copy a Technoblast because it's not actually on the Mew VMAX. The only thing you can copy is Max Miracle, and that's not going to get the job done.
Man, this Minior being stuck. I'm thinking way back to that escape rope choice that Pedro had, a Confe versus a Minior.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a big choice in this game because now there's a Minior that's stuck, that's not drawing us cards.
Oh, there's a switch card.
Can we reduce our hand low enough? Okay, it's double switch cards, so we can see a card from restart here. I'm not sure if a card can change anything.
Not one, no.
Okay, we can draw 2 cards, so we need... Well,
what do we need?
We can't get there either now because we've turn attached. We've already played our supporter for the turn.
It's not looking great.
Having a stretch here, having a think of how they can get out of this spot.
2 cards to the restart. Oh, there's the nest balls. Way too late.
Yeah, Cramorant's not going to do it. Do you send up Iron Hands as your highest hit point Pokemon? Just hope that there aren't enough tablets.
I mean, you can, right?
The only thing stopping Ward from the easy prizes. You can do it with Roaring Moon as well, it has the same hit points.
230 is pretty beefy, but I mean, it doesn't take a lot.
No. And also, if you take a hit with your Roaring Moon, then you can't use Calamity Storm either, and Pedro's actually got rid of all their stadiums. So you block yourself from Frenzy Gouging.
Oh, that's very, very awkward. So it's Pedro. All Pedro can do here now is pass, and it's going to be on Ward's piece together. Can he just find the pieces to get this last knockout to tie up this series?
Pedro in a really tough position in these last turns of time. For those of you watching at home, when the timer goes down to 0, the game doesn't end. We have 3 additional turns. Pedro was was going through their turn when the time was called. So they were turn 0. Now Ward has turn 1. Then Pedro will have a second turn. That will be their final turn of the game. And then Ward has 1 more turn to win. But it may not take that much. Ward could easily find a single prize knockout this turn.
Ward looking at the 1 prize card from the Hisuian Heavy Ball.
A nice minus from hand. You can vacuum away one of your Forest Seal stones. Oh, there's Block Slide.
Right, yes.
Yeah, let's just use a quick Hisuian, see what I'm going to take, and then take that prize. Why not? Of course, yeah, the Mew VMAX used Block Slider on the previous turn, so doesn't even have to draw any cards there.
Nope.
And is able to take that second game. What an interesting one we've seen there, Freya.
Yeah, so our first feature match does end in a tie. Ward able to take it to 1-1. Taking some really, really interesting, but ultimately very clever lines, I think, especially with that Ice Cube and doing a Block Slider on the Comfey to sort of cut off that